Well, hello, folks. My name is Tim Savage. I'm the immediate past president of the Orchestra of Northern New York, and this is another edition of Behind the Scenes of ONNY. It's my great pleasure today to welcome a good friend and a founding former of our board and things that we needed to have done when we needed to have them done. This is Miss Pat Collins. Welcome to the table.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Always happy to see you anyway.
Likewise, Pat. You and your husband, Bill, are not from the North Country. Tell us when you came and why you stayed.
We arrived, get ready for this, Tim, 50 years ago. 50 years ago, I was pregnant for our fourth child. He took a job up here. I cried because I said anyone who lived north of Watertown was going to the Tunderland and we were going to perish. So I didn't want to come, and we came, and it really didn't take very long before we said, you know, it's an oasis. It just turned out to be a great place for families to be. It did. And so some years later, he got, maybe 3 or 4, an offer to go to the Saratoga area, which is a lovely area. And we looked at one another and said, why would we go? Why would we leave here? And we feel that way to this minute. Why would we leave here?
Isn't that fantastic?
It's true. It's very true. I tell a lot of people that. It's true.
That's interesting because my wife Jill and I have a very similar story to that. Yeah. You were a board member of ONNY, serving with the late Betsy Northrup and Eleanor Hopke. Will you share some of the challenges you experienced or tasks you undertook as a board member?
Sure. There were monthly board meetings. So at that time, Kenny Andrews, of course, would in the beginning would present his program for the year and how much that was going to cost. And of course, the challenge of the board was to see if we could make that work, which was always difficult because you want it to have quality music, you want to have the pieces that you think are going to appeal to the public, to the audience. And the money is much higher than the average person ever realizes. I think at the time, and that was some time ago, that the average concert cost $10,000. And people, it's certainly not $10,000 coming in the door every time the concert hall opens. So that was a challenge. And then the other part of it was that not only did we, oversee all that and approve it or disapprove it or make a compromise or whatever, but we were all on different kinds of committees also. So there were committees to find housing for the visiting, the people who were hired to come in from other areas to play for a certain concert, provide food for them during intermission, all kinds of things like that. Solicit food from other people so that we could, feed them during intermission. There was raise money in all kinds of sundry types of ways, which were all fun actually. So those are some of the memories I have, but all good things.
Oh, that's wonderful, and we appreciate all the good work that you did back then because it allows us to be in existence today, and a lot of what you described continues to this very day.
I'm not surprised.
It's always a challenge, isn't it, to balance artistic intent with financial reality.
Absolutely.
It's just the nature of the beast. I understand you were actively engaged in fundraising events. Which ones do you remember and why?
I remember them all. I remember meeting Eleanor Hopke in the garage on Elm Street, Potsdam, where people were dropping things off, and Sue Ellen, where they were dropping things off, and Ned Potts, who would come and pick them up, and having to go down to the park by the river to set it up for the Potsdam the festival, the annual Potsdam Festival. And being rained on, or having a day at the festival where it was so hot you couldn't breathe, and then going another year and moving it over to the Pine Street Arena and all that sort of thing. Those were some of the things that you did during the year. And of course it was wonderful.
That was the notorious ONNY junk sale, correct?
Oh yes, that's right. But I mean, you can imagine because you were part of it, but how much work that involves to collect all this stuff and then move it to the place and then move it to another place. It's an enormous amount of work, and these people did it. They absolutely did it. And the other things that they did, somebody like Ned Potts and Butters, they moved instruments for particular concerts. I mean, that wasn't done by SUNY Potsdam for sure. That wasn't part of their thing. It just physical labor, all kinds of hours and calling people and asking people to do things for you. There was a lot, but I don't know of any person who did it who didn't want to do it.
I was going to say it was always surrounded by good cheer.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful bunch of people. Wonderful bunch of
If
people.
I'm not mistaken, Ned Potts invented a way to move a grand piano.
I think he did.
Yeah.
He would. He's very quiet, but very particular. He really knew what was going on.
You helped ONNY musicians with one of their basic needs, food. Mm-hmm. What kind of hospitality did ONNY extend to the musicians during your tenure?
So what I understand is that musicians who were hired from out of the area to come play for a particular concert loved to come here. And the reason they loved to come here was that their housing was provided because there was a committee who would call different people and say, would you please take in this musician for so many days and this sort of thing. And they loved that because they didn't have to stay in a hotel. And then the other thing was at the intermission, at all the concerts, there were freshly baked goods, not things from stores or all of that, with freshly baked goods. And what happened was that a group of us would call all our friends and say, we need this for 2 nights, we need this, and then you have to go pick it all up, and then you had to take it there, you had to set it up, and as soon as that first intermission, you were out of your seat, run to the room to set it up, run back later and pick it up and clean it all up again. But they loved it. The
I'm
orchestra
sure they
members
did. We
loved
always
it.
thought the musicians played so well because Kenny Andrews was on the podium. Now we understand really what gave them the fuel to do that. No, I think a combination of both for sure. For many years, you've been a very generous major donor to ONNY. What motivates you to contribute to the orchestra?
That's easy because it's so worthwhile. It is so worthwhile. It is something that I honestly believe is a gem here in the North Country, because I didn't know you till we got involved. Well, I knew you before the orchestra actually, but when I realized the quality of the music, I'd gone to concerts lots of other places, and this isn't just, okay, it's a lovely orchestra. The quality is incredible, and so many people feel that. So why wouldn't I support to the best that I can to continue that, because I want other people exposed to that. We had talked about getting more kids to come, getting more audiences to come, because it's so beautiful. And everybody who plays in it, whether it's a faculty member or somebody brought in for a particular concert, has a passion for what they're doing. They're not coming to be paid money, because the money is nothing. They can barely get here and get back with the money that they earn. But the fact of the matter is they want to do it. They want to do it, and that shows. It really comes out in the music. And I love to watch people play. I love to watch the musicians play. So that's why it's very worthwhile.
That makes perfect sense, and I would share an anecdote from my wife Jill, who's played second violin in the orchestra since 1992. And sometimes it's really, really hard work, but she has always said, no one can make us play like Kenny Andrews.
Well, and the passion comes from the front. There's no question about it. He is so sincere. So even when you go back to the board meetings, he would come in and he'd be all excited about this particular program, and we'd say, well, how many people do you need? Well, how much is that going to cost? Well, but he really is always has been totally dedicated.
Yes, it's the musicians don't do it for the money. They
No.
do it
Oh,
because
my goodness, no.
the best of them is being collected and connected. It's wonderful. Although no longer on the board, you still actively promote the orchestra through your business contacts. How do you do that, and why?
Well, I run a little real estate company, so I like to give, if somebody new is coming in or we do a tour for somebody, I look for ways to welcome them to the community and show them what we have. And of course, one of my all-time favorite things is the orchestra. So I want them to know this isn't, like I thought, a tundra land. And it is an oasis, it is in the middle of nowhere, but it's a treasure in the middle of nowhere. And one of the pieces of that treasure is the orchestra. And so I do promote it. I honestly do promote it every time I get a chance.
What do you say to them to encourage them to attend concerts?
Well, I ask first if they like music. And sometimes I can get people who have never been to a concert to go. There's some funny stories about that, but they really are. But usually I can convince them to at least try it, because everybody doesn't like everything. I mean, I love your kind of jazz, but there's another type of jazz that I don't quite care for, and I'm not an opera buff. So I understand that people like different things or they don't like music at all. But I want to show them or encourage them to taste of it. You know what I mean? Try it. Just try it. And then sometimes too, when you meet somebody, I visit with them, and you get a sense of what they like. And there's a couple very recently, a young family just last year, and they were so excited about the orchestra. They could not wait to go. They couldn't wait to go. And they're subscribers. They just love it. So it's just a matter of promotion. But if you promote something that you care about, that shows too.
Yeah, it surely does. And you mentioned your little real estate company, Pat Collins Realty. We bought our house in Canton in 2001 from you, and we have been so happy there. So thank you for leading us to that place. In your opinion, how, if at all, has ONNY changed over the years?
I don't know that it has changed. I think that everything has changed. I think the culture of everything has changed. I think our culture has changed. So I would suspect, though not going to meetings and all this anymore, that you still have the same issues of raising money, keeping an audience, getting more audience, encouraging more people, and that sort of thing. And I think it's probably more difficult today because of all the instant gratification and all the buttons you can push and everything that you have that way. And the challenge for me, if I were still trying to be out there on the road, is to try to get someone to understand that those things are good. I could hear the music, I could hear that recording, but to be in the same room with it is an entirely different experience. And that's the way I promote it, that it's to be in the same room with it. And again, people are different today. They're just different. Everything is instant, quick. They don't want to take the time. They want to come home. They want to go back out again to go to a concert or something. So you have to work at it really hard.
And it's been our experience when they leave the concert and we listen to the buzz in the lobby on the way out, that they're glad they came.
Exactly. It's getting them out the door.
Yeah.
It is. It's getting them to come in and have that experience. It's a very special experience. I do believe that.
I do too. A final question. What is your favorite memory of the Orchestra of Northern New York?
I've thought about that. And I honestly think there's not a person that I met, whether it was an orchestra member or any of you on the board or any of the people who were working or any of the people who brought the cookies because they knew that was going to... It's the people. The people that I met through all of this have been wonderful, but the other part of that is that, again, they all have a passion for what they're doing, whether it's just, contributing something to the food area of the orchestra or coming to a concert or getting a friend to come or whatever. It's the people, but that's what the North Country is about as far as I'm concerned. That's one of the perks of living in the North Country is I say to this people all the time, there are a lot of nice people here. I mean, there are just a lot of really nice people here, and that's why it's a good place to live. You can come and go any place you want, but you can always come home here.
Beautifully said, and I couldn't agree more. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today. Pat Collins, you're a treasure of the North Country.
I always love seeing you anyway, so you know that.
Thank you for joining us today,
You're
and
welcome.
thank you, Pat.
Thanks for having me.